Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Welcome back to another episode of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. I'm your host, Luis Jimenez. Today, we're going to be talking about... Wait a second. Hold on a second. That's not right. That's not right. I'm not doing that right. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Jeez. You know what? Let's rewind. Let's do that again. Welcome to Lou Reviews, the destination and your home for critical thinking in the realm of the unexplained. Please don't forget to smack that like button, the share button, and subscribe, ring the bell, all that good stuff. Today's going to be an incredible episode. We've got the crew back together. And it's going to be great. One guy dressed like the old days and didn't give the memo to the rest of the crew. But that's classic. That's so us. That's so us. Before we get started, I want to say hello to everyone who's in the chat. Man, we have an active chat today. Aaron Desario, Pinzer Lou, Simon Fly, B Baker, Bobby Broadway, Esco Politica, Morty Matt. Guys, thank you for being here. Hiko Sejuro. Where are my aliens, Lebowski? Great question. Let's talk about it. Ooh, Dana Shadell. A mod and a member. Remember Dana Shadell. We've got our awesome mod, Sparky Pilot. Grant Levac in the house. Good to see you, buddy. Aaron Desario. And new mod, Pinzer Lou. Alright, guys. Well, everybody, thanks for being here. Oh, look at this, dude. Kicking it off with a $20 super chat. Dude, thank you. Michael, stop. Just stop doing that. Alright. So without further ado, let's get into this, shall we? You guys know this face around the show. He's actually the gentleman that put this whole thing together. He reached out to me. He's like, Lou, we should do a reunion show. Talk about the old days and what happened and compared to now, like what's happening today. And kind of how right you were. Like, dude, sounds fun. Honestly, my genuine reaction, I don't know if I told Michael this, but my genuine reaction was, I know Rather will do it, but I'm not sure about Michael. He can't stand this discussion anymore. And a lot of that had to do with kind of right before he went out. Like, he had just added up to here. And for good reasons. For really good reasons. So we'll talk about it. So before we do, let's bring on the agent of chaos, Mr. Matt Riot. What's up, buddy?
Not much. Where's everyone at?
They're here. We're bringing them up. You're the first to be introduced.
Oh my God, how weird.
Yeah. Is there any way you could bump up your audio just a tad? And here we go. We got to make sure everybody's audio is right. Oh, by the way. Oh, where is everybody? This is what you mean. Our Lou Reviews studio. I forgot to switch to that. There you go. That's probably what you were talking about.
I'm not sure how I can bump up my audio other than... Hold on. Does that work better?
Yeah, that's a little better. Just a little closer, I guess. All right. Well, either way, I want to make sure everybody hears you. Okay, so next up, you've seen this face here in the last couple of weeks. We talked really a lot about bravado. Speaking about bravado, not bravado, bravado. We're going to have an afterspace in the Bravado Discord, which I've included in the link of the show. So go check it out. I think Rather, are you going to be there? Rather's going to be there. Mike's going to be there. Matt, you going to be there?
I'll be there.
Matt's going to be there. So if you guys have questions after show, then come hang out in the new Bravado Discord. And without further ado, Mr. Michael Mataluni.
What is fucking up?
What's up,
of course, Mike's audio is absolutely too high, or either that or he just came in too hot. How you doing?
Did I come in too hot?
Oh, there you go. There you go. Maybe you came. No. I think you came in Top Gun. Top Gun.
That's right. I'm 73% Sicilian. So
yeah. That's okay. No. I love the passion. And yeah, dude, thanks for wearing the tie and shirt, which it would have been hilarious if you told everybody else to do it.
Technically, Lou, I did mention in our chat when we were talking earlier today, and I did also, but it's.
Sorry, listen, man. I was driving. I'm like half reading. Yeah,
there's driverless cars. Yeah, I can't even imagine what you're dealing with out in LA right now,
dude. Yeah, holy shit. Well, that's funny. It's funny that you've got your fucking your shirt and tie on. I feel like changing. Yeah, yeah, dude, that hair is amazing. Okay, so I think the face, no offense, gentlemen, but the face I always miss the most. The gem to my heart, in my heart, especially when it comes to the old UCR days, and yeah, Mr. Rather Be Squidding.
Hey, everyone. Great to be here. Thanks, Lou, for having us. Michael, Mataluni, it's been forever. And Matthew, thanks for setting this up. This is amazing. And man, it's just awesome seeing all the old names in the chat. Glad to be here. This is going to be fun.
So this was actually audience requested. Like I had been in there enough to watch the screen and everybody chatting, and daily people were requesting you guys constantly. Be fucking rad if we did that, but
it's true. I mean, I would see it in the comments from time to time, but I never, just never thought about it, just because I know you guys have been busy. You guys have been doing your own thing, and I don't want to, I don't know, rehash it, or just like,
we're here. So
yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like but Matt was like, dude, I think it's an interesting juxtaposition, the two time frames, because a lot of people, like, especially nowadays, are accusing me of doing a 180. And I think when we were doing the show, I mean, like, I know I had a belief system, right? But I at least had acknowledged it. You guys were there in a lot of ways to sort of balance that stuff out. But it was, for me, I don't look at it as a complete 180. It was more of just like a 2-year experience. And then kind of where we got to the end of it, I was like, yeah, all of these lies and all of this just bullshit is like, it's just a huge screaming red flag. Like, oh, it's probably exactly that, Lou. It's just bullshit. Like, why? Like, if the truth of what you guys are saying is so powerful, why the sock puppet accounts? Why the fucking, attacking journalists? Why, getting mad at Mataluni when he does the big phone home, and like just weird shit, like weird red flags, like fucking McGowan fighting and yelling at us because he was telling us the whole time exactly what these guys were up to. So like, yeah, man, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Do you guys remember the first time that you got backlash from Elizondo? See if you guys remember.
Take us back, Matt. Take us back.
Let me rewind. So I just first started watching the show, and I think the first thing that I had asked with the super chat that got pushed through was if Elizondo was a modern age Doty. And you guys read it. And at some point, someone, I don't know if Lou was contacted by them, but they were very unhappy with that. Very unhappy with that question. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I don't know if it was Elizondo directly, but I think it was like the Mergia, the UAP mics, like they were pissed with that question.
Yeah.
And I don't remember getting any flack from Elizondo. The only time we really got flack from him was after we asked the sock puppet question, which true or not true, just for the record, we sat on that question for over a year.
I asked it a good year before that in a super chat.
Yeah.
You guys were like, yeah, I have heard rumors of that.
Yep, and I remember that day that because he came on and we asked him live, right? And it was that was the moment because behind the scenes, rather Lou and I were all sitting around going, all right, like, do we ask him? Should we ask him? Are we gonna burn a bridge? We're like that. I mean, that's the question, right? Like, why would we not ask for the truth?
Yeah, well, I remember
the reason we wouldn't ask is because we didn't want to upset him, right? Because we wanted access to him. And I think that's why everyone doesn't ask him the hard questions.
100%.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. Well, I mean, brother, your audio is spiking pretty hard. Are you using the audio through your headphones?
I am. I can try to turn it down here.
Yeah. There we go.
How's that?
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So, yeah, dude. Well, I remember McGowan had told us, and then Matt had asked in a super chat, and then I had seen, I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was not Ben Hansen, but the other guy who works for I think Warzone. Shit, I'm forgetting his name right now. It's one of these journalists, but he had in like late at night had yelled at one of his sock puppet accounts, "We all know it's you, Lou. Go to sleep," like kind of thing. and then we came in the next day and it was like, "Hey, should we ask this question?" And all of us sat there and we talked about it for a good 20 minutes. And I came to the first time we asked it, I was like, well, we're not 60 minutes, like, I don't know if we're trying to, like, what are we trying to do with that question, and also I think, yes, without saying it out loud, there was also a fear of, if we ask that question, of course, like, I think that would probably lose us access to any future interviews. So we didn't ask it. And then a year later, when you come back, Michael, and I'm talking to Rather, and I'm like, hey, I think we should ask this question. I could play the good guy. I've got the games and all the, I'm the host and shit. And then Rather could play the bad cop because everybody thinks Rather's a bad cop for some reason, no matter how.
And who got the brunt of that? Rather's mother got the brunt.
Rather's mother got
Rather's
the brunt.
Rather's
was she
mother.
Watching that day, Rather? Was she watching that day?
She was watching live. Yeah.
I told people this. People don't believe me, but she was actually watching live as he
She hates Lou now. She hates Lou more than I do. I don't mind. I actually want to see Lou succeed. I think it's kind of an interesting story that we're all a part of now. But I thought we were giving Lou Elizondo a chance to clear the air. I thought that we were doing him a favor by giving him a chance to say, yeah, no, this isn't me. If you're listening to a faceless bureaucrat, telling you to attack critics, that's not me. I thought we were giving him the opportunity to kind of distance himself from that. But no, it went the other way.
We talked about it, right? Like, me and Rather had talked about it. Rather was more on the fence. He was like, a lot of people think that he was just a skeptic out to get Elizondo. But privately, Rather was not anything like that. He was still kind of like, well, he seems legit, blah, blah, blah. And so I think a lot of people expected you to do this as a gotcha, but I don't think it was as a gotcha. From my opinion, it was a personal question that you wanted answered because you did not believe it.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I remember it too. And not only that, but you were pretty like fair-handed in the way you asked it. Your tone was fair-handed, and immediately what you got back was, what if I said your mother was a whore?
Well, it was interesting. It wasn't.
What is that even?
Well, here's the thing: is it actually what happened? Is he first answered the question with, "I'm an intelligence guy." Like,
we were going to move on,
and we were going to move on, and then you having technical difficulties. You could see it in his face for the 45 seconds that we were trying to get your mic to connect. He was stewing on that question because he knew what it meant. And then that's when he came back and he's like, let me go back to that question and clarify. And then that's when he whips out the analogy of, rather, what if I called your mother a hooker?
A prostitute.
A prostitute.
It was a hooker
prostitute.
or a prostitute.
It was a
Yeah.
prostitute.
Sure don't. Yeah.
And we're all like, wait, what? And then here's the thing. Like, because I remember one of the conversations, especially Rather and I that we're having, we're like, well, look, if we ask this question, there's only one good answer. And it's no. Yeah. Those aren't my sock puppet accounts. Anything outside of that bubble, I knew going into it, I was like, dude, if he answers anything but no, this is going to suck so hard for me because now that forces a crossroads right in my face. It's either do I ignore that very awkward answer followed by very awkward analogy and just continue down the, all of this is fine and real and A-Tip. Yeah, he was the director, even though we have a book now that says he wasn't the director. You know, like he was recruited to a high level position. Yeah. And then, you know, so, well, he says that in a NAP interview, but in the book, he says he was the director of ALSAP. Nobody knows yet. Even Joe Murgia came out the other day and was like, Lou wasn't in charge of A-Tip. Like, it's not a real thing.
Poetic justice to watch him get chewed up by his own.
I gotta love Joe.
I don't know about that, but you know,
still licks my balls.
I
appreciate him.
I mean, I appreciate those moments, but it's also like, you know, like, dude, for 2 years, we told him, dude, like, something's not right, you know, well, especially when we came out, but even behind the scenes when, like, Matt, you know, like how much I was dealing with from these, especially like, look, at first it was just insufferable from UFO Joe and UAP Mike.
It was also the Discord.
Yeah, it was the Discord is what, like, which we fixed in the first few weeks of the Discord existing. I didn't think anything
needed fixing. That shit was awesome. It was just UAP Mike being a little bitch like he is.
Well, you know? Yes, that's part of it. I mean, look, I think all Discords are always good with rules and, you know, limitations to certain, like, you know, you like chaos. It's like, I agreed with some of the critiques of it. And it was like, look, if I don't ever go into the Discord, but if my name's going to be on it, you know, it's nice to know that, hey, like, it's at least a civil place. And also, like, it addresses the complaints of the show, right? So, and it wasn't just Mike, it was other people that were also complaining about it. So we put rules in, we addressed it, we fixed it. And I still, to this day, if I'm in a room with Mike, he will yell at me about the Discord as if it still exists, as if the same things are happening. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? So I think the point where it switched for Mike for me is when KMF came into the picture of this. And I think a lot of that happened after we asked this sock puppet counter question. And I think that's when we, as a show, that's when everything just started really getting bad. just getting bad. Yeah, like exactly. The ship just started breaking apart, re-entering the atmosphere, and there was no saving it. You know, like my trust had been shaken to the core in Lou Elizondo, and rightfully so. I had a good reason, and it was shocking how the audience was like, "No, that's not a good reason. That's not a good reason at all." It's like, wait,
just show for fucking purple curtains on fucking Twitter. Let him have his faceless bureaucrat. You remember that was his reason.
Purple curtains. That's right.
Purple curtains.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, his justification was a clear lie.
Yeah.
He was using it to attack critics. And
I
stuff.
can't just go buy purple curtains under my real name. I'm such a fucking megastar, you know.
Well, Mike, I know I wanted to ask you, Mike, because I tried so hard to be like, oh, all right. I know you can't do 2 shows a week. That's a huge ask. Even for Rather, I thought that was a huge ask. You know, but you guys were up for it for a long time. Never forced any of you guys to do it. Even tried to work out like, hey, fuck, if one day this breaks the right way, I want to pay all of you guys, especially if you're here this much. I still get a lot of shit for not, quote unquote, paying you guys when the channel wasn't even paying my bills, let alone other people's bills. And we've addressed that so many times publicly, but toward the end there, I know like one of the things that was the reason why you left was dealing with guys like UAP Mike. Can you talk about a little bit sort of like the end of stuff?
Happy to. It's actually perfect because Hides in Long Grass just made a comment here that says problems and miscommunications compounded by confirmation bias. And here we are. And I think that is the thing, right? It's so we want something to be true. Somebody thinks that we believe a certain thing or are, Lou, I can't tell you how many times since I left this show where people have been like, I'm pretty sure Lou's a psyop. Like you, Lou, like you're a psyop.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times I've heard this, and like people who will do anything. Like we all have this thing called confirmation bias, and we want to be right, and we will, whatever we see, whatever we can find to project that or to confirm what we already believe is what we're gonna share, and we're gonna shoot out, and we're gonna amplify it. And I was just over it. And I was going like, how many times can I say into this camera the same thing and be completely misconstrued? And then, later as I stepped away from the show and did some personal work on me, one of the things that I started to really get clarity on is this idea of how important it is to listen before try to understand others before being understood. And so it's very difficult and time consuming, I think, is the number one problem. Like we got full-time jobs, like we're all working, we've all got a lot going on. So the ability to really sit down and be like, I need to address this, and I need to really understand where UAP Mike is coming from. Like, ain't nobody got time for that. Like, I am busy. Like, so that was kind of where I was coming from.
Yeah. That's a bad kitty says, if Elizondo agreed to come back on, what would you ask him? I'll start with you, Mike. I'll start with you, and then I'll go to Rather and Matt. I'll throw you in there, and then I'll throw my question. But yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, I mean, what I would love to know is to, I think this is the biggest challenge with Elizondo is everybody knows that he, he's in the intelligence or was in the intelligence community. So how do you trust? I mean, I remember the first time we did an interview with Elizondo. I was so excited. I told my dad watched. He was like, I don't trust that motherfucker. I was like, really, Dad? I thought it was such a great interview. I thought it was powerful, and I thought he really shared a lot. It was so excited. And he's like,
yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's hilarious. I mean, look, there was a lot of people who got that vibe from him immediately. A lot of people, to be fair.
Man. I don't know.
What would be the question?
I don't really care anymore.
Yeah. But what would be the question you'd ask him though?
I mean, if I was sitting in a room with Lou, I guess I would want to know what he's been truthful about, what he hasn't, and why, and when the things he hasn't been truthful about, why. But it's not like he's going to answer this question. So it's
well, let's say we had a room where he had to answer the truth.
Well, then that's what I would want to know. I would want to know what he's lying about, what he's telling the truth about, and whatever he lied about, why, and what he's actually seen with his own eyes versus what he has investigated, and what is first person knowledge and what is second and third person knowledge. That's what I'd want to know.
Okay, Matt, what do you think? What would be your question?
I'd be more interested in the Guantanamo Bay stuff, Camp 7. Why he's so proud of that fucking piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, in his book, he claims that he remote viewed, he tortured. Czar. Yeah. Well, he was called in open court the torture czar, even though I can't find any open court where his name and that phrase comes up. He said he was put on I think a terrorist watch list in Europe or no-fly list, I believe. No-fly list. He couldn't enter the country for a year or two, according to him. Because I think, and that had to do with his work directly tied to Guantanamo Bay. That's a great question.
I'd like to know too why he can't pronounce Kadium Putaman. Why he rolls his R in the middle of Kadium.
Dude, he always over rolls every R in every word.
The audiobook he reads, it is ridiculous.
It's so funny.
It 7 different ways.
He does. He does. Well, I was gonna say, like what? Ooh, damn. We got a big. Oh, damn. Okay. Kaplizier with a $24 dono. Thanks, dude. He said, I told my boss earlier tonight, please let me go early from late eve shift tonight. You know, my boss, it's my favorite show. He got me 51 hours plus. No kidding. No quitting. Here I am. Haloshin chat and liar Zondo. Thank you, Kablizzard. I appreciate it, man. The best donor on the channel. Dude is awesome. Appreciate it. But yeah, Matt, so I'm sorry. Remind me quick, what because I had a question about your question.
Okay. Yeah, the Guantanamo Bay thing.
The Guantanamo Bay stuff. Yeah. Like we just had McGowan on the show, and McGowan FOIA'd his military record.
Oh, I watched it. Yep.
And we learned, I don't know if you guys saw, rather, or Mike, but we learned that he only spent 3 years, just a little over 3 years in the Army. He went to Korea, but there's nothing there about Afghanistan, Iraq. But he could have served as a private contractor in those countries. As a private contractor, he wouldn't see combat where a General Mattis comes in a Sherman tank and unloads guns to provide cover fire for him and his buddies. You know, like, he was in the Army. He didn't even get a shooting
marksman
badge. Like, he couldn't shoot. He was an office, basically a pencil pusher, a paper pusher, a desk jockey. Not that that's inhonorable or anything. Woo!
Yeah, I was like, I got a desk. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, well, right, but you know, like it was like okay, well, you know, who cares? Like, whatever. But yeah, okay. So rather, what's your question, dude?
I mean, you know, I really don't have any burning questions. Like, I feel like, you know, I don't claim to know all the answers, but I feel like his book kind of answered most of the questions that I wanted to know. And I feel like that's kind of the reason why I've kind of checked out from the, you know, UFO community. But I guess, you know, I would be interested to know, like, the Guantanamo stuff, I think is very interesting. And, like, it would be interesting to know what his exact involvement was, because I have a hunch that he isn't as involved as the book makes it claim that he is. And that is even weirder, right? If you're, like, trying to build up a false persona of being the Darth Vader of torture. Mike, I don't know if you've seen his book or are doing all these things yet, but his book is wild.
I'll send you the audiobook. I'll send you.
Yeah, and then I guess, you know, more specifically, like, I think it would be interesting to know what his exact experience with remote viewing actually is. It'd be, you know, interesting to know, you know, how he met Hal Puthoff and, like, more of that backstory. And, like, what exactly he's claimed to have done in remote viewing. Like, that'd be interesting to know.
Well, he says on Kurt Jai Mungo's channel that he doesn't know how to meditate, but he knows how to remote torture.
Yeah, he's more
torture people.
Remote viewing, that you don't meditate. You just get really angry. You just get that rage, right?
Yeah,
Darth Vader of torturing. Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So with Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ, like, if you know their methods, one of the main things was you have to learn how to clear the main part of remote viewing.
Matthew, you're, like, trailing off. Is that happening to anyone else?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
but the main part of Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff, who, you know, wrote the remote viewing manual that he's spitting, apparently, because he's so Hal Puthoff, they said that you have to be able to clear your mind. That's the first part. Now, trying to do that without meditating, either you're a master of all things brain,
or maybe there's nothing in there, Matt.
This is a possibility. Just that your mom's, you know, got her work cut out for her.
UAP Mike is in the chat.
Fuck you, Mike.
And he puts in all caps. And he writes, is it true that UAP Mike drove rather out of the UFO Twitter? I don't think he's the sole reason, but I bet he's probably one of them.
Well, I mean, the real reason is I was really interested, even when you quit, Lou, I was kind of urging you to, hey, let's stick around for the Arrow report and let's see what the government actually says, now that we have, a serious scientist in there. And, after that report came out, then now UFO Twitter's in conspiracy land because the government is now saying that, no, there aren't these crazy things that science can't explore. And then, David Grush comes along and his claims are just also totally unverifiable and in the land of conspiracy. So, after that happened, pretty much all I have to add then is, snide remarks, hey, this is stupid. And, there's no, I don't really actually want to do that. I don't want to burst anyone's UFO bubble. If they want to believe in UFOs, that's good for them. That's cool. And, and so I don't really have a place in this discussion anymore. And, getting the very real pushback and getting things in your real life threatened because of your UFOology takes, that probably was the hair that really drove me out, where it's I'm no longer I'm no longer getting any personal benefit and entertainment out of it, and there's only negatives that come from it. So I quit Twitter and I'm happier for it, I think.
That's kind of how I felt too. I got way more interested in what I can actually put my hands on here on Earth, and I figured, well, rather than getting an argument on Twitter about things that I can't verify, and people don't have the ability to verify to me, I don't see the point in wasting my time, my energy, my focus, and my passion on defending a position that I don't have, that people are projecting on me. So it's what am I doing here? I just,
And I was a debater in high school. I love a good debate. I love discussing ideas with people.
Master debater.
But it's no one's discussing in good faith. People.
Right.
I like to have good faith debates, and that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, it was that's the thing with Mike, personally for me, is that at first he presents you with what seems like a good faith debate, and then you try to have the conversation with him, and then he shows very quickly he's not there for good reasons. And then he gets involved with other very extreme thinkers and people who think it's okay to look up your real name, people who think it's okay to dox your family members or put your girlfriend in a meme, in a sweatshop, or look up where you work. And they encourage that behavior. That's when it's well, dude, I really want nothing to do with you, and I'm gonna block you, and that's it. I'm done. I definitely, and that's part of the reason I did leave for 3 months, where I'm just I just need a break from the hashtags in the social platforms and this whole thing. And even when I came back, I didn't talk about it for a good 3 months. So I took a half a year away from this stuff. And when I did start coming back to it, it's even now very difficult to watch a very important UFO documentary. The James Fox one, it was like pulling teeth for me to sit through the whole thing. I was just so fed up with it. And in a lot of ways, it's like putting on the glasses, and They Live, and seeing everything for what it really is and who the aliens are, and that way, King Milkfart and UAP Mike and all of these jerk-offs that were attacking you guys, my show, and sort of making us do all of that work that makes us go, this shit ain't worth it. It's just not worth it. And so for me now, I don't give a shit busting people's UFO bubble. I don't give a fuck.
I know this. I love you for it.
Do not give a fuck anymore, because fuck their UFO, fuck their fragile bubble. If a simple question pops it and puts you in a place of extremism, fuck your bubble.
Lou, can I say something about that? Because
Yeah.
I think that is such an important point, and I know we have talked about this in the past, but this idea that in order for, like, so many people have, like, we just talked about confirmation bias, like people want to believe so bad that they will get offended and are vulnerable and will feel it when people attack an idea that they believe. And so to me, that's no difference, that there's no difference between that and like religious extremism, right? Like to me, that speaks the same, because in order for me to verify my faith, I need to attack and take down the other person or convert them. And if I need to convert you or take you down to justify my faith, then I don't really have any fucking faith at all.
Right.
In my opinion.
Right. Sonic Gravity says, what did I miss? Hi, Mike. And yeah, just go back to the show. You'll see what you missed. Sorry, rather, to cut you off. I just wanted to, I forgot to mention
that.
I
commend you for doing what you're doing, Lou. Like, I appreciate that you're doing your show. Like, I think that is a valuable thing to be there, the voice of reason on this whole discussion. But it's not fun to do. Like, it's not nearly as fun to talk about aliens as like, they might be here.
Here's yeah, right. No, for sure. That's a way more fun and you guys know this more than anyone. It made me a lot more money having that fun conversation than having the conversation I'm having now. I didn't want to be this fucking guy. I didn't want to be, but you guys painted me into a fucking corner where it's like, look, this is the only way that I can defend this position is like one of those zombie apocalypse machines, like a Winnebago that you turn into a fucking death machine where it's got spikes hanging out of it and chainsaws coming out of little slots, like just a rigged out machine. Like that's what my show is, driving through this fucking horde of zombies, like these mindless zombies. And fuck it, dude, like I need somewhere, because like it's frustrating when you see thought leaders or people who went to Congress or lawmakers, like especially lawmakers, because I feel very responsible there where like this show, I think, I don't know quantified how much I had to do with it, but I had a part. And so therefore I feel responsible in a way to help lawmakers now at least understand, hey, like, sorry, I fucked up. Like,
well, I don't know. I think Arrow's awesome.
I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
Well, no, that's all I say. I think that, what currently is there, the UAP legislation, I think is awesome. And I think, applaud to the big phone home, if whatever part that had to do with it.
I agree, man, but it was an unintended sort of thing that happened. Like we weren't like, I think if we were full zombies, if we were full zondo bees, like we would be like, fuck the Arrow office, fuck this, fuck, like they're lying to us. It's like, whoa. They're not. Like the information, especially, I haven't talked to you about this, rather. Like this is the stuff I really want to talk to you about. Like the stuff that Arrow has put out. When I look at Kona Blue, right? I look at that, I go, thank God they put that out. Because if that had leaked, it would have been a nightmare. It would have been a can of worms that conspiracy theorists would have been like, holy shit, look at this Kona Blue. Look at all the programs they're naming in this. Meanwhile, it was never funded. It was a program that was sort of put out there after OSAP to continue the OSAP program, and the DOD and lawmakers were like, get the fuck out of here. We're not spending any more money, especially on this. And you look at the details of Kona Blue and it's really woo shit. But like, yeah, what do you think about like that one specifically? And what else has Arrow put out that you're like, oh, clarity, a little bit of clarity.
Before you answer that, rather, can I just say one thing to you, Lou? Because and I think this is important to me, and I don't regret I don't regret the big phone home. I don't regret any of the time that I spent.
I don't
on
regret
your show.
either.
Like, I don't regret even the journey. Even you. I personally think that you should have all your old shows. I think the journey that got you here is more important than the conclusion, because it allows people to see what led up to it and why, rather than like that speculation of oh, Lou quit because he's in ops or whatever, or whatever thousand reasons people create in order to validate their bias. Like, the journey was the process, right? That was the beauty of it. And there's so many people here right now that I'm watching in the comments that are saying the same thing. Like, they loved that. And they love to see our arc of, open-mindedness, open-minded skepticism with, and each of us had a pinch of our own, like, belief, but we were open-minded enough to have those conversations and have them out loud. And I think there's a lot of value in that.
Well, which one of you guys were still here during the final kickoff the diving board for Lou?
Well, Rather was here. It was Rather and Jane that were here for the very last 2 episodes. Yeah,
I know we talked about that in a space, but I don't think we ever talked about it on the show. What actually happened?
Yeah, well, let's get to that in a second. And your mic is coming in and out. I don't know what's going on.
You have a limit. You got a limiter on there?
Yeah, I think it could be a limiter. Like, okay. Well, real quick, just put a pin in Kona Blue real quick, Rather, but to sort of agree with what you're saying there, Mike, real quick. You know what I'm working on behind the scenes.
I do.
Rather knows what I'm working on behind the scenes. And it's without this journey, that project does not happen. If the person who's making that project happen didn't see, like, it's just a fan of the show who, unbeknownst to me, who is like, I saw exactly what happened. Let's have a beer. I want to hear some of your ideas. And then I want to take some of those ideas to certain people. Like, that journey, if I don't have that journey, I'm not sitting in those rooms pitching those ideas. So you're right. But with that said, I still want to put whatever effort I can into rectifying what the Aero office is genuinely for. Support the Aero office however I can, and fight silly legislation that opens up the door to fatten up the pockets of retired contractors. And so, like, there's got to be that voice there too. But Rather, I'm curious. Like, I know I put a pin on that. I asked you a question, but like, what about that Aero office? In addition to that Kona Blue that I just discussed, like, what else in there were you like, oh, cool?
Yeah, I mean, the real kind of the whole, what got me started in this and got me interested was the notion that, the government is seeing things that are unexplainable by science, right? And that was kind of upheld by the UAPTF. They put in some weird kind of, wording that, signaled towards that, but they didn't directly kind of say it. And then, and that was the big takeaway that I had from Aero, is that, Kirkpatrick definitively said that there's nothing like that. And so that kind of, took away the big, the kernel of that I thought of was the truth to the whole argument there. Yeah. And I think that is really the most interesting thing for Aero for me. I agree with you about Kona Blue. It's, interesting that they're, digging these things up and exposing them before they're into conspiracy land. And, I think it's, interesting that they're digging through, old cases and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I got into this because the government kind of did a 180. They said, for the longest time, they said UFOs aren't real. And then with Lou Elizondo, they said that they're real and there's crazy stuff there. And now we're kind of back to the, a rational take of it, but also with, some cool offices that are there that do solve some serious issues regarding, drones and foreign intelligences and stuff like that. Well, so, there's nothing hugely interesting is I guess the real answer.
Yeah, well, one of the good things is that because of the Aero office and because of the legislation that has been put in place, that some of our instruments on certain hardware have been put in that area that they haven't been looking at. And guess what they've been finding? A whole bunch of Chinese fucking drones, flying over our nuclear facilities and training areas. So, like, part of me is like, dude, I think it was a good legislation. But then again, was that the genuine motivation for guys like Lou Elizondo? was that the sort of the real reason to push the narrative to get law? Because again, we talked about this where it's more interesting to a lawmaker. What's that? UFOs? And then they actually go, oh shit, wait a second. There's a huge hole in national security here. It's not UFOs. We got to fix this.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm in the Senate, right, and I don't have any inkling of what's going on UFO Twitter, and I don't
trust me,
really
they do
know much about. Okay, well,
they do, especially the ones. Especially the ones who've verbalized this publicly, this support for either the UAPDA or past legislation. Yes. You can say they are aware of UFO Twitter because it's threatened them, it's fucking come after them, and it's also championed them, as well. So they do use it for whatever their reasons when it's convenient.
Right. I guess what I'm getting at is, it seems to me that they would be more looking for what's the kernel of truth underneath all of these people, all of this noise, right? Where's the signal in the noise, and what is that signal? And so as a senator in the federal government, I would be more interested in going, is there an actual national security issue here? What are we actually talking about? What are we actually looking at? And I'd be wanting to get to the bottom of that. Now, if, as any human, I think, should do, keeping your mind open without letting your brains fall out is important. So I wouldn't put it off the table. An alien technology could absolutely be a threat to national security, right? Of course, they should keep their mind open to looking at something like that. But at the end of the day, the more likely answer is if it's an actual threat, would be a foreign intelligence. And so that's where I'd be like, I'd key on that before being like, oh, UFOs, and then be like, oh, national security. Like, I feel like the former comes first.
Yeah. Rather, what do you think? Love it. Classic Rather. Classic Rather. Matthew, any thoughts? Yeah, I agree. Sure.
I don't know. Hopefully the mic's working better now, but
yeah.
Fuck politicians. That's what I got to say. They have nothing for me. They're a bunch of fucking actors.
Yeah. Well, okay.
They really are.
I know Rather. One last thing I kind of want to talk about. I mean, we got plenty of time. By the way, yeah, I'm not sure how long this show will go, just because let's see where this conversation goes, and maybe we'll take questions from the audience, but then we'll continue the conversation, like I said, in the Brevetto Discord. So if you guys want to check that out, the link for that is in the description right now. So go join the Discord, and Mike, feel free to throw it in the chat as well, dude.
Yeah, no, I won't.
So I know that you read these articles because I know you still have an arm's length interest in this, right? I know you. So I know you're reading the Scientific American article with Kirkpatrick. Did you read the LA Times article? No? Okay. Well, similar to the Scientific American one, but in both of them, and including in a couple of podcasts, he confirms that he theorizes some of these motivations for why these guys are soliciting lawmakers, like organizations like Americans for Safe Aerospace, the Galileo Project, and one project called the NANU Project, the Soul Foundation, that's headed up by Gary Nolan. By the way, all of these foundations share the exact same board and people and representatives. And they're, again, all soliciting lawmakers for money to look at this independently of the DOD. But he also says in these interviews that these guys are soliciting lawmakers because if you get, and look, man, this is where we're at. No one is going to miss $100 million, $200 million in spending to look at this independently, quote unquote, even though it doesn't answer to the American people, it just answers to lawmakers if they find something. They are not going to share any data with the American people whatsoever. But to get $80 million contract to look at this. Americans for Safe Aerospace, you get 80. Galileo, you get 70. Nanu, you get 20, and this other one, Soul Foundation, you guys get the rest, 112 million, whatever the numbers are. And he said that those dollars, those tax dollars, are literally going into the pockets, right into the pockets of the people who run the foundations. And it's a scam.
Yeah, man.
It's a problem, dude. And he said, in addition to money in the grift, a sense of being powerful, in that when you walk into meetings, you could be like, and he's had people do this to him, where they're like, I had a hand in writing the UAP legislation. And he's like, I don't really give a fuck what you had a hand in writing, and that means nothing to me. And these are the same guys that sit on these boards for all these organizations. So I'm curious. I just wanted to because we were talking about that 2 fucking years ago when I was freaking out and I was calling everybody out by name. And by the way, 2 years later, I have been right on every single one, including Katie Howland, especially Katie Howland. So and it's not something I harp on. Like, this is the first time I talked about this with you guys, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think of that? Like, we've kind of been right on a couple of these theories when it comes to, well, what's the motivation? Who are these guys really? And why are they spreading this bullshit?
Yeah, so I'm just going to take a moment quickly and reset the room for everybody. My name is Michael Mataluni. I just wanted to thank Lou Reviews here for allowing us to join this show today. It is a reunion special. We've got Rather Be Squidding here. We've got Chaos is Matthew joining us today and putting this entire thing together because he is the freaking man. So, Lou, thank you for hosting. And we are going to drop some opinion bombs on you right now. So I'm going to let Rather take it away.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that there is some opportunity for people profiting there, but I don't think that it is all just a big grift. Like, I think that the people like the Gary Nolans and the Ryan Grays, I think that they are believers and they also see an opportunity to profit from this discussion. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. Like, I don't fault them for that. If there's a need and you can make some money, I mean, we're a capitalist society, right? I'm all, although this is in the context of a socialist program.
That's more fascist.
But wait a second. Hold on a second. But wait a second. But we have the example of OSAP, right? That wasted $22 million. Of course, drop in the bucket. But what you fast forward to 2024, you can see how that kind of spending could balloon. You're saying you're okay with spending let's say $200 million on chasing stuff that we've already chased before, has been shown to be wait, hold on a second. That's shown to be bullshit. Instead of spending that $200 million on something else that the taxpayers could really need.
Well, no, I mean, I would hope and I would like to have a responsible government that would look at these ideas and act in a sensible fashion, which would be not giving them all that money. But for the people that are true believers and they think that government is the holders of the secrets and that they want to get these secrets revealed and they feel it's their duty to do it, and hey, I have an organization that will profit from this discussion, I don't really fault them trying to get these programs in place, but sure. I do fault the government for giving it the okay.
Well, if they're lobbying private investors, no fucking problem. Why would I have an issue with that? But they're not lobbying. They are, but they're failing. They're not getting a lot of investment. They are here and there, but not. I mean, Avi Loeb has not hit his dollar amount, right? We talked about his $100 million number. He's still only a percent of $4 million, nobody, and he's spent a lot of it as well. But this is different because this is taking the gullibility of taxpayers and it's taking the gullibility of lawmakers and knowing it. It's not like citizens doing it. These are former military contractors that are all disgruntled with some level of government one way or another. They know it's wasteful and they're getting together and going, hey, let's do OSAP 2.0 essentially. Let's get
do
some
they
of
know
those
it's
dollars in
wasteful?
our pockets.
I would maybe argue with that they know it's wasteful, and
well, they know government's
I guess
wasteful.
the one thing that I really have a problem with
Yeah.
is that they're not going to accept a negative answer, right? Like if we could pass legislation and get like a group of people to do an investigation, like presumably we did with Arrow, and then have that organization come back and say, okay, we looked at it, we're not hiding secrets, aliens don't exist, and if people would accept that, I think that'd be money well spent, right? But what's going to happen is if they do these, they'll spend money.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, like you can't change people. You can have influence, but at the end of the day, like just because the government says something is true is not going to enlighten society, right? Like, in fact, it's probably the opposite. They're probably going to do the opposite. They're probably going to be like, it's the government who's saying it. We definitely don't believe it.
Yeah, that's why we need this whole discussion should be founded in facts, right? And the fact that these people are telling us that there's UFOs flying all over us every day, and 7 years later we still haven't actually seen one. The Galileo Project Hub hasn't seen one,
or haven't been provided with any evidence from the sources that they claim have them.
And what do we really want here? What are we really asking the government for? Like, what are we trying to get out of them? Like, and so maybe what you're pointing at or uncovering here is that there are people who actually believe that there are world-changing, life-saving, abundance creating mechanics and systems that could save us. Maybe that's their motivation. I would love for that to be true, but I have a real hard time believing it.
I agree.
And there's one effort that I think that, well, at least I can get behind, is that there's an effort on UFO Twitter to like buy all of Congress Lou Elizondo's book, right? And I think they did that, and they delivered it to all of them. And I would say, read that book, all you Congress people, because I feel like the answers are in that book. Like the things become pretty clear when you read that book.
What becomes clear? Because I haven't read the book, so could you
up
share,
until the book, Lou Elizondo's whole thing was there's strange things happening in the sky that science can't explain. Let's study them, right? Like that's kind of was my takeaway from his message. Now he's saying they're aliens, Roswell is real, there's alien implants in people. Everything's true, is what he's saying.
And also, I'm a super soldier.
Yeah. I mean, that was, people at SCU, when I went to that, told me, behind the scenes that, the reason why Lou's acts so strange is because he's a super soldier. They broke him down and then they built him back up. And I kept that to myself, being like, man, I don't want to like ridicule these people who are telling me this because it's insane. But it turns out
this is at the
it wasn't things that they made up. It was things that Lou Elizondo was literally telling them. It's crazy. And I don't mean to say insane as a pejorative. I guess I apologize for that, because there are mental illness issues that are real and prevalent in this.
It's fucking insane
topic that you don't want to
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you. Here's the thing with this show: we're never gonna walk on eggshells ever again. Ever again. It is insane, dude. It is insane.
I appreciate Rather's efforts, though, man.
No, I do too, and that's why I love Rather. That's why I miss him the most.
But I also love
he's
chaos
so cute
over here. Like that's
No, he's just the most fucking adorable when it comes to these fucking goddamn liars.
That's
and
what made it so
and
funny. Like he would get the most shit out of everyone, and he was probably the most like sensitive to their belief systems out of everyone, but everybody just thought he was this hardcore atheist asshole, which was
Can I ask you guys something? I think this is a good opportunity to ask you all this, because obviously everybody in this room right now, the four of us on here and everybody in the comments, has been interested in UFOs at some point or another. We've all had a moment where we go, wow, this could really be something. I'm just curious if we could like zoom out for a second and just get a quick take on everybody in the room. Riot, I'd love to hear your take on like what was it for you? Like when did you start to like think this could be something?
When did I start to think? When I was a kid, little kid. And then Lazar kind of busted it for me. Greer, Lazar, and a few others, and Billy Meyer kind of were my downfall.
Because you started to see the hypocrisy and the lies?
The lies. Yeah. Kept catching all of them in lies. Logic always comes through.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Lou?
Well, I think it's kind of similar answer. I mean, you know, it was definitely, well, I was a fan of the UFO study or like books and lore before I had my experience as a 13-year-old kid. And then, you know, I didn't touch it for almost 20 something years. You know, I was living in New York City, so I didn't think of it much. And when I came back to it, I was a still believer, but at least had that mindset of, well, let me not go full believer. I never wanted to be Linda Moulton Howe. That was sort of my, like, the standard for me. Like, believe all you want, but just don't be hawking bullshit. Like, the second you see bullshit, just, you know, just say it. And that's the way the show started, especially early. It wasn't until the phone home where I really started walking on eggshells, because I was trying to get everybody under one tent and trying to sort of, you know, placate to everybody. But, you know, it was some of the red flags that we caught in the phone home, all up until we asked that question with Rather. And, you know, and it was really that question where I was like, okay, there's just way more evidence that these guys and these people and all of this stuff. And I would have really long conversations with Matthew, and we would talk about cases where we would really dive deep into them, and like cases that I was still hung up on. For example, the aerial school sighting in South Africa. And I talked to Matthew about it, and he's like, okay, well, have you ever heard about this? You know, did you know about this? That especially when who was the reporter that was first on the scene, that lady who was basically just pumping ideas into these kids' heads before Harvard professor John Mack showed up. And when Harvard, and then now when psychologists and people look at John Mack's work, he wasn't doing it with an intention. He had good intentions. He was following the protocol known at the time. But when they look at his work in retrospect, he was definitely planting ideas into these kids' heads. You could see it in the videos. You know, like when you dig and really get to and that's every case. Roswell, aerial school sighting, Pascagoula, Bob Lazar, especially Bob Lazar, but like, what's that dude, Travis Walton? I had no idea that there was a fire tower that he used to live in that is only 2 miles up the mountain from where they had their sighting. It was a tower it was a signal to the other towers if there was a fire anywhere in the vicinity, and then they would send help. And his family lived on that trail and in those mountains. Like, you dig into these cases, dude. So long story short, like, yeah, it was all of that stuff. Like, that's when it kind of ended for me, especially with Lou, because I was like, God damn it, you know, especially when we had like Math and Rather know this a lot more detailed than you do, Michael, but like, they were taking our personal messages and blackmailing me for apologies. You know, third party through these two dickheads on Twitter. Like, it was some really fucking fucked up stuff. Really fucked up stuff. And when I see all of that after oh, you're one of us, you're our buddy, you're our pal, thank you for doing what you're doing, like, you're one of the ones fighting for truth. Like, after all that like people give me shit all the time. I would say things to Lou like, hey man, like, consider this show a tool in your tool belt. Not like tell us what to say and we'll say it. Just like, how can we help you with your initiative? How can we help you elevate your voice in this conversation? In that way, yes, use us like whatever tool you want in that sense. But once we found out that those pinned rules meant nothing. They meant nothing, especially when you call my friend's mom a hooker. Like that shit goes out the fucking window. And people are like, oh, get over it. You're making it a big deal. Why are you so butthurt about this? I'm sorry. Fuck you. Like, I dedicated my life to this for 2 years. Michael, you know, I wanted to start a 24-hour UFO channel for cable because I'm like, well, if you could do 24 hours news or 24-hour weather, you could do 24-hour UFO channel. Like there, and I still believe you could do that in a responsible way. Like, but this killed it for me. This whole experience really made me go back and look at everything with a fine-tooth comb and also rely on family and friends to sort of help me digest this, what I thought was a reality because of my experience, because I was using my experience.
That was where the question started. So you said you had an experience. I just wanted to kick it back to that because that's kind of where you first started in on this, because you had a first person experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so like at a birthday party, you know, with a whole bunch of other people. But I also know now, especially now, I which I think back then I'd be like, oh, I don't know, you know. But today I can look at that. Well, first of all, I never used it as evidence. You guys know that. Like, especially when I told the stories, like, look, this is a story. This is not fucking proof or evidence in any way. But you know, like that was hard to let go, but now I can look back on it and go, well, maybe it was a plasma ball and I'm just remembering it wrong. Because I can tell you right now, if 30 people in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at a fucking barbecue in 1993 were in perfect conditions for a plasma ball unknowingly and saw one come above the fucking, you know, their essentially farm, when a birthday party was, everybody would look at that and go, what the fuck? You know, and I think that my knowledge of UFOs, the idea, like even as a kid, I was calculating, okay, not a helicopter, not a plane, not this, like I was check marking because I had read it in a book. This is what you do when you see a UFO. So I think it's very easy to go, okay, well, my belief system that I had before I saw it could be clearly influencing my memory of it 30 years later. Like, I know that, and I can say that and that's the difference between me and UAP Mike or Matt Ford or any other one of these zealots that take their experiences and declare, I know, I've seen it, I've experienced it. Since we've ended UCR, we've had a clinical therapist on our show who's walked us through, like, your brain can create burn marks. Like trauma can mask and can create things to mask remembering the trauma. Like there are many books, many studies, and these are the things that I've been looking at since I've ended UCR. And so that's when I enter these conversations and I have this, like, people are like, oh, you've done a 180. Nah, man, I've just looked at the data, and the data has brought me to where I'm at today. And if I'm aggressive, it's because, I've got a little bit of trauma from this shit, you know? And like, also like not only mental trauma, financial trauma. Like the idea of what the fuck have I been doing for 2 years? Like all of that shit is like that's what's pouring into my show, you know?
Well, I mean, when you talked to me the other night and when you shared that with me, I mean, that was, you know, I didn't realize that. I didn't fully grok what you had gone through, what you had experienced, and why you do what you do now and how it relates to then. You did bring something up very powerful that I think is very important.
Kids gone missing. You're in Orlando. Pay attention.
Pay attention. So this is what I find very, very powerful about what you just said. You just said that clinical psychology. This is the shit I'm fascinated by now. Like the UFO thing is a fun, like, distraction for me, but it's not very important in my life anymore. But what is incredibly important is what you just brought up, and it's the ability of the brain's capacity to not only believe but create. And if you have the ability to unconsciously create burn marks on your skin, you have the ability to create ulcers in your stomach, you have the ability to create high blood pressure, right? Like you have the ability to create all these things that are physical manifestations that your electrical wiring in this fucking meat sack is able to create. And that's freaking incredible and insane and powerful. And we all have that, right? And so what do we end up doing with it? And you brought this up the other day when I was talking to you about Roberto, because like that's what we want. We want to empower like people's ability to innovate with tech and like amplify what they're already able to do, but just they aren't intentional about it. So, but to your point, like, what do we do with that? We just want to like, how do I stick my dick in it? Right? It's like, how do what or like, or
he
like
goes when Matt went like this. What the fuck is that,
chaos,
buddy?
Bro, that is a ladies' man.
What are you
right there.
playing with doing this, buddy?
Riot is a ladies' man. That is impressive.
Mr. Finger says yes.
Oh my god, love it.
But man, like, and Aaron brought this up in the chat, like, this idea that the human brain and our ability to direct our thoughts have significant impact physically. And the question is, do they have impact physiologically beyond, the meat suit that we're in, or is there a quantum relationship with our thoughts? And our
since we've had that conversation, he put together a book list for us that we include in the description of every show. So if you're new to the show and you're having experiences like this and you don't know where to go for real answers and help, because a lot of people rely on Twitter Spaces to sort of give them like a self therapy or answers that they're looking for, and none of them are giving them good answers. And so we put a list of books that have studied alien abductions, that have studied what's going on when you see victims with burn marks, the whole gamut. So we've got a great book list and also a helpline. Like if you're experiencing these things, it's not that they're not happening. They very well are, but you should seek
what's causing them,
the professional help that might be able to possibly give you some relief on these experiences that you're having. So I just wanted to also say that, because that's something I'm really aware of now, and when we talked about CE5 specifically, he says, Lou, the CE5 book is a manual on how to self-hypnotize yourself.
Right.
It's a manual to manifest orbs for a certain mindset that read this list of protocols. And then, so when Jay Malibu, who is on this show many times, and I say Jay Malibu, I mean Project Unity, his orb experience is the thing he will not let go of. But when you listen to his story, he was literally reading the CE5 manual. When he had this experience, he was practicing CE5, and it's like, it's a self-hypnotizing fucking manual that manifests orbs for you that seem real, that seem tangible.
Right.
Your mind's powerful.
To that point, people who watch Fox News or CNN or whatever your lean is, right? They're doing the same thing. We're all hypnotized by the confirmation bias that is in our brains, right? And so what is reality other than a projection or a self-hypnosis based on recurring biases that we are doubling down on every day because we see what we believe and we believe what we see?
Real quick, I just want to read a couple super chats. This is new to the show again. This used to be a normal thing. Doesn't happen as much these days anymore, but thanks to all the super chats. I appreciate it. And thanks again, you guys all, for being here. This is from I'm Not Here, This Isn't Happening, as we lovingly refer to as Pip. He goes, my journey has been your journey. Just wanted to say thanks. Integrity is everything. Doing great work to sustain reasoning is the only option. And then we had another, there was another one here. Man, I hope I didn't miss it. And if I did, I apologize. Compliziert wrote reverse fringe engineering. It rather loves return. Basically saying he loves you rather. And then, oh, here it is. Okay, good. I didn't miss it. Fraser Johnstone says, with a £5 donation, says, I just arrived. I'm an hour behind. I just want to say it's great to see you wankers back together. I'm a fan from the UCR days, legends. So thank you. Appreciate the love. So yeah, man, like, what do you guys, so like, I think that's like conversations like that. I'm also, Michael, more interested in these days. And also, you know, like, I love also focusing on new tech, because I think part of this conversation, especially the sort of DoD narrative or the Lou Elizondo 2017 narrative is, oh, you know, it's aliens, but really it's probably a lot of it is our tech. You know, like a few months ago, we talked about a portable, I mean, rephrase, portable nuclear engine designed by Rolls-Royce, where basically you could put this thing in disaster zones and be able to provide power to more than a city block. Like, we're talking about something that could power an aircraft carrier, a submarine, or a drone that never lands. So like there's cool tech we talked about the other day, Michael, with Brevetto and this idea of AI and all of this stuff coming at us like a bullet train. You know, like there are, humans are making some really cool things. And I think that's also that's to me an interesting part of this conversation. You know, so opening it up to those things, being able to provide people not answers or solutions, but at least avenues as to where to go if you're having an abduction problem, if you think, you know, the rabbit hole that you're going down is the right one. Well, here's some other places you could check out that maybe you can check yourself on, you know, and so, yeah. Anyway, I agree. I think it's a great part of the conversation. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Rather.
I agree.
I agree.
There it is.
Perfect. So Riot, I know that I had put a pin in a conversation that you had brought up about 20-30 minutes ago. We want to explore that? What was it again? It was the
Felon 5.
The Felon 5. Yeah.
Kicking your ass off the diving board.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to remote view what is below Chaos's upper quadrant, just hit the like button and you'll get access.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, you'll get behind the scenes access. And again, guys, we're gonna have an after show conversation. So if you guys want to come in there and ask questions, you're more than welcome to. But I'm gonna tell you right now, we're gonna watch out for UAP Mike, because that guy gets in there and it's just gonna not be fun.
Yeah, he's already been in the chat here. He was talking. You
can gobble on my nuts.
That's a way to put it, and I wouldn't fight it. Let's put it that way.
Neither would he.
But okay, so you say Felon 5, okay?
Yes.
Michael, are you aware of what happened here with this whole Felon 5 thing? No, not really,
I mean,
right?
This back in the day. Are you talking about what Elizondo was saying, and when he I remember that. And actually, Lou, you and I had spoken on the phone quite a few times in relation to that, because you thought he was directly talking to you, or it's something to that degree. Or,
well, yeah, I remember calling you specifically and trying to break down everything that was going on and trying to just get advice from you. Because like I said, when all of this shit was going down, there was so many theories running through my head, and I'm sure Rather, you know this, like, it kind of sent me in a little bit of a fucking whirlwind. I think at the core, the things I was saying about people specifically was accurate. It was just trying to figure out what the motivations were, I think, where I was like, what the like, I was genuinely trying to wrap my brain as to why I'm being blackmailed for something I didn't even say. I'm being told, you better apologize or we're going to put out something that explains everything you did wrong and how you fucked Lou Elizondo and backstabbed him. And I was like,
well, I mean, you were in a loop before even the blackmail came
before
out.
Even that,
loop because you got this weird email from Lou saying these people that are, you know, kind of your friends, people that you know are scum of the earth, people that are doing like the detrimental to national security, like, lunatics, and like I forget. The
Well, it
Felon
wasn't-
5 was like the
it
least
wasn't-
offensive thing that he said in there.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
Yeah.
okay, I think you're confusing things. So right before the show, so right before the show, remember when he was he looked pissed off, right? And he looked upset before the show, and I was like, fuck, and like we all picked up on it. And then we had the show, and then I text him, hey, like, was everything okay?
What?
Did we cry? Like, I was basically checking to see, okay, what lines did we cross?
Before the show, he was telling us. He told us why he was said.
Yes.
There's a criminal conspiracy working against me.
Yes.
And he
did.
wouldn't name the
Fucking
names. He
asshole.
kind of
Yeah.
implied that they were people that are working for Stephen Greer, but he literally said there's criminals. You wouldn't believe who these criminals were. I remember him saying.
Yes.
The drama.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
drama.
This he was
I'm
saying.
But he wouldn't tell them. He
Yeah.
wouldn't tell me. He would only tell you after the call.
He was saying this in the pre-lobby. He had hinted, and I was like, well, who are they? He's like, don't worry about it. It's not important. I was like, well, dude, I mean, if there are felons attacking you, like, tell me who they are. Tell me who they are. We got your back. How can we help? Like, if it's legit, like, he's like, don't worry about it. So then I text him after the show, hey man, just noticed you were upset, blah, 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 blah. Like, just want to make sure it's nothing, like, just understand, like, hey, even though we just asked you a really hard question, like we're still trying to support you however we can, right? And then he writes, like, not a big deal, hermano, calling me brother in Spanish. And he's like, it's just this felon. Like, it's just all of these, I've got the fucking text. Whatever. I don't want to go through it. But
just the felon 5, then 5 names.
Yeah, he's just basically calling people mentally challenged, like, criminals, and then says it's, these 5 felons, and then names 5 people. And I'm like, holy shit, like he
misspelled
just
felons because
misspelled
he's
felons.
illiterate.
Well, not only that, but whatever. Like the one name that stuck out to me there was Greenwald.
Yeah.
I was like, Greenwald.
And Green Street.
And Green Street. Green Street, I if I'm being honest, I've said this before, I was like, I mean, maybe. But Greenwald and Green Street, both of them, I was like, Greenwald especially, I was like, no way. Green Street, I'm like 2% chance. The rest of these guys are like, they're hoaxers.
Yeah.
They're really edgy dudes. I don't know them, so maybe. But when I saw Greenwald, that's the thing. I was like, dude, this is fucked up. And like one of the first people I told was my girlfriend. And I told Rather, like I read Rather the message. I didn't share the message with any of these guys. And then I told Matt. Because I was like, which was in retrospect, I still think a good decision. But because I know Matt, and because he's before all of this, and you guys know this, you can confirm this. He warned me about UFO Joe. He warned me about UAP Mike. He warned me about King Milkfart. He warned me about Sean Rash. He warned me about all of these people that were attacking my show behind the scenes. He's like, dude, just be careful. And every time I'd be like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Let me give him another shot, or let's wait and see. And every fucking time he nailed the nail right on the head. And so I was like, let me go to Matt. Let me see what Matt thinks about this. And I was like, dude, can you find out for me? Because I know you're good at digging information. Can you find out for me if this claim is true on either Green Street or Greenwald? Matthew then immediately turns around and goes to Green Street and says, hey, did you know? Tell the story. You tell the story. I'm paraphrasing here, but yeah, you tell it from here.
I hit up Green Street because he was going to be interviewed the next day. He was going to be on the show the next day.
On my show.
On your show. And I said, I have a quick question for you, because me and him are on friendly terms. We're not best friends or anything, but we speak sometimes. And I said, I am going to look up your record. And I want to tell you in advance, because I don't want it to be some shady thing where I'm trying to do a got you. But there might be people saying you're a felon. So I'd like to look it up myself and confirm this myself. So I did, and he wasn't. And so he's even more interested, like, who the fuck's saying I'm a fucking felon? And I was like, well, I'm not supposed to say. I don't really want to tell you, but you maybe someone you think. And he's like, tell me. And I was like, well, I know Greenwald knows. Green Street's would probably know too, because he's like a friend.
And at this point,
legit.
also, after I told Matthew, I think a couple of days after that. No, it had to have been before that. I had to have told Greenwald before that, because
you did.
Because I was like, dude, I don't know. Like I'd asked Greenwald too. I just straight up asked Greenwald, and Greenwald was like, no. Like he's like, Lou, listen, if you want me to pay for the background check, I'll do it. And I was like, no, dude, I believe you. I didn't believe this, but I just had to ask you because this was a crazy claim made by him. And it put me in an awkward position between two people I respect. And instead of just going with the rumor, I wanted to address it. And this is also like after we'd asked the question, he'd called me personally, like to be like, hey, we're never going on this show again because Green Street, took this interview and basically, he hated it. He absolutely hated every part of this. But yeah, I'm sorry, Matt, continue.
Yeah, so, I mean, I knew he was going on the show the next day. Now he was armed with this info and kind of engineered it in a way to where we thought it would be best for this info to come out to pull down Elizondo's pants and spank him in front of everyone, basically showing he was manipulating shit behind the scenes in very, very, like, kind of fucked up ways, accusing someone of being a felon. Now, he says he's a counterintelligence agent. People assume he has access to this info. If he says it, people are going to eat it up and believe it instantly. Right. So,
and the pushback was, "Oh, we didn't call you a felon. We just called you a criminal against humanity."
Yeah,
right? Yeah. We just called you mentally disabled.
Yeah,
literally a criminal against humanity is what he called him. Yeah, it's like what do you do with that information if you really think someone's a criminal against humanity?
Right, and especially if you're giving that,
you shouldn't be saying that about people, Elizondo.
Well, also you're giving it to your friend. Right? And then you're putting your friend in an awkward position with somebody who he might also be friendly with.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird thing to say. And so that's what really compelled me to do what I did. But okay, so Matthew set me up. So here was the thing with Green Street also, is before we had the interview with him, we were getting a ton of questions on my Twitter handle from online people like Klaus, like King Milkfart, other fucking accounts that were disguised, that was him asking to make it seem like there was. And there was like 10 or 15 requests of people going, hey, what about this picture of Michelle Obama? What about this picture, these racist images that apparently were from a Reddit or something like that? And
saying he beats women.
Saying that he beats women. And I've never seen direct evidence linking him to those things. But there's a lot of people saying that, yes, that is him. And so it was a very indelicate way I asked the question on a live stream, but it was something I was asking to get to clear the air, to be like, no, of course not, man. Like, that's a crazy, and it wasn't a gotcha for me, but when I said the word felon, that's when Green Street clicked in the interview and took Matthew's information and go, oh, whoa. He stopped the whole, because you know how Green Street is, dude. He's an investigative journalist. So when he hears something, he played it very well. Very, very well. And I'm assuming, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure he knew that a question like this was coming. But because to be honest, he's like, oh, who asked this question? And meanwhile, like, the StreamYard isn't working right. I'm trying to pull up my Twitter and it's not coming up. I'm like, dude, we're just getting like a lot of online who are these people? I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, look, I'm not trying to be an asshole here. I'm trying to get clarity. But whatever. He was like, let's talk about, do you have an email with me as a felon in it? And I was like, Not an email.
No, he said not an email.
Not an email. You know, I didn't want to lie. Like, that's me, like, genuinely trying to be honest in the moment.
Yeah.
And I had to sit there and genuinely work this out live and go, okay, what happens if I start answering these questions in front of a live audience?
Yeah.
I'm playing with, I don't know what I'm playing with from a legality standpoint. I'm like, can we please have this let's shut this down, and please let me explain myself to you behind the scenes. And Rather was there. I mean, when that show ended, I apologized profusely, and I told him exactly what happened and where that felon accusation came from. It wasn't an email, it was a text message. And I wasn't asking you to, because of that. I wasn't trying to get an answer on that. I was asking you because we were getting legitimate complaints and questions about your past. And you knew this information and you flipped it on me. So
he did.
So and I was like, but I want you to know, like, I wasn't trying to be an asshole. Like, I genuinely wasn't trying to be a dick. He accepted my apology. He understood exactly where I came from, especially once I read him the text message that I had. After all of this goes down is when the two guys, Rob Heatherly and Dick Butt, start putting out quotes, direct quotes from the messages between me and Elizondo, and hinting at people that because a comma is not in the right place, he didn't mean these 5 people that he just named after he said 5 felons. He meant 5 felons and these people. So there's 10
these assholes. Yeah.
So there's 10. They made it worse, but that's all they needed was just an excuse to make me look like I backstabbed Luis Elizondo. And then they started leaking the actual quotes from our messages, and I knew at that point that Lou had given him the messages.
Yeah.
How is Twitter not a reality TV show? Like, how is
I don't know.
not a
It
thing?
would have been an amazing documentary.
It's gonna be a great movie.
It would be a great documentary someday.
It's gonna be a great movie or mockumentary.
Let's go.
But
I don't know. It might just be too stupid to believe all this stuff, though.
Right. No, well, I mean, look, man, it's
what is reality TV?
Here's the thing, right? And I always say this. It's the dumbest blackmail in the history of man. Like, it's like the stakes are so low, except for except for his reputation. But what's hilarious is all the onus somehow ended up on us, on me, on this show, instead of the guy who made the claim, who made the statement.
Yeah. Yes.
Well,
He's a
because you are
counterintelligence agent.
Yeah,
of course.
you're no longer the patron saint of their belief system,
Right.
Like when you were, they would back you, but once you decided to operate with some scrutiny and leverage the information you had access to and the people who could lead you to that information, then you were no longer their patron saint of ufology, and therefore you were the Antichrist. Good job.
Can I just-
It was a lot of fun. Let me
Go
tell
ahead,
you.
Matt.
I was going to say, can I just say he got worked by a fucking scrubby ass punk rock kid? Fucking counterintelligence agent my ass.
Dude, in the comments they were like, Riot's doing background checks? What?
Well, I mean, this whole thing is just so stupid because if you grant them that he didn't mean they were all felons, he's literally saying they're committing crimes against humanity. I mean, how can you read this and think that Elizondo's a good guy? He's clearly even if he's not saying they're felons, he's clearly manipulating people behind the scenes and saying untrue stuff. Crimes against humanity, that's way more untrue than being a felon.
Well, here's the
torture
thing.
czar.
Well, but also here's the thing. When you use phrases like crimes against humanity, a more extreme militarized version of me, like, I don't know, Thomas Fessler, Rob Heatherly,
You think you're justified in doing whatever it takes.
Milk, correct. That's why it never takes Lou Elizondo to say, can you do this and say this directly? They come up with it themselves because it's a crime against humanity. It's a dereliction of duty. It's a, what would they call me other than backstabber? Traitor. You're a traitor.
Scrolling it in chat.
The punishment for being a traitor, I think we all know what that is, right?
Death. So, that's why it's like, I know it's stupid. Like, the overall thing is stupid, but it does weaponize people to go to extremes, to go to the point where you're calling us every day, telling us what you don't like about our show. You know, to where you're becoming friends with people like King Milfart because fuck it, he's going hard on UCR, and fuck UCR because they, God forbid, told you the fucking truth.
Well, Heatherly was talking about all the guns he has and all the shit behind the scenes,
dude, like,
saying how he's going to defend them because their lives are at risk, and he's willing to go kill people.
That guy's son physically
and I still got those
assaulted.
motherfuckers.
He physically assaulted Michael Huntington at a UFO convention.
Yeah,
Rob Heatherly's son, you know?
Mr. Finger says yes.
Mr. Finger says yes now. And here's another thing too, is people like whoever wants to doubt this story. And, you know, I release new episodes of UCR all the time, and we've got a UCR playlist. I'm very I don't like the old episodes out there just because a lot of it is pseudoscience. A lot of it is just stuff that isn't good to be in the zeitgeist anymore. And so I kind of took it out, but
except for Melinda Leslie.
Except for Melinda Leslie.
Well, I feel like you're a little too hard on yourself. Though,
I know I am.
I know. You pushed back, and you didn't just accept everything as.
I agree. But that's because you were there to help me with that, right? Like, and so was Michael.
Even before that.
Even before that,
you had a head on your shoulders.
I agree. Tina Tomaszewski with a $5 dono says, "So happy to see my guys together." So thank you, Tima, for being here. I appreciate it. And you know, like Aaron Desario is here in the chat. And Aaron Desario is like, you know, because there's people who want to doubt this. The receipts to this are my live streams. That's why I didn't permanently delete them, because if somebody wants to take me to court, I welcome it. Please come sue. If you think what I'm saying is defamation, let's go. I've got the receipts and I've got the fucking witnesses behind me. I've got the timeline. So if you guys want to play that fucking game, and notice it's been since this show has called out everyone, not one of them, not fucking one of them, especially Elizondo, has come back with any sort of retort or apology.
You got a hella Zondo bot though in your chat. I think it was last time.
Is he selling books?
I don't know what they were doing. I was like, is that Elizondo? It's like, oh yeah, it's me, buddy. And everyone's like, yeah.
Oh no, I think that there's a fake Lou Elizondo that comes in the chats all the time, and he's always like, buy my book. It's hilarious. I love it.
Dude, do you remember the one that used to call us and we used to
Elizondo's neck? Zero?
Yeah. Neck.
Shout out
Lou Elizondo's neck. Shout out to the neck.
Did we ever uncover that neck?
We did.
Oh yeah. You
told me who the neck is? Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I just gotta say, you made it seem like Aaron was not believing you, Lou, but I think that Aaron's totally on your side.
Yeah.
Aaron, it's great to see him again. He had an awesome idea about, remote viewing. I saw in the chat about there's some guy who claims that you can group minds can influence a random number generator, and he proposed doing an experiment to see if that's actually true. I feel like that's a great way to approach these fringe topics. Is actually make falsifiable experiments. So I don't know if anyone saw that in the chat, but
I did.
Awesome.
I was giving him a shout out there, actually. Yes, exactly. That's the kind of stuff, if you that's the kind of innovation that's interesting to me, right? It's it's not about falsifying or unfalsifying an eyewitness account. It's about what is possible, what
repeatable science. Yeah.
Bingo.
And there might be stuff out there. I love mysteries. I think, and there are mysteries of life that are, interesting out there. And I think that's one of the negatives of this whole thing is I feel like having this experience kind of makes me a little bit more jaded, and I don't love that. Yeah,
no, I felt that way when I left. I was super jaded. I had actual healing to do, for real, and it was tough. And so that's what the last a couple years have been about. It's about getting back to basics, getting back to first principles. What are the things that we all can agree on that we know are true? What are all the things that that we disagree on and we can't verify? And let's begin to step back to the first principles and start to experiment from there, rather than trying to unwind all of the the confirmation bias and the layers and layers of BS that people put on to things that are genuinely mysteries that should be investigated, but that can't be because there's so much rhetoric and shit like that. So like that's what I'm interested in.
I wanted to say real quick too, there
Yeah.
were people a few years prior to me asking the faceless question in a group, a secret group. I'll say one of their names because he disappeared, a guy named Einhorn that was responsible for figuring out the faceless bureaucrat stuff before anybody else had. So I want to give him a shout out because that would never have happened without him and our group of friends behind the scenes that put all of his stuff together to analyze. I can't take full credit for that craziness. I was just a mouthpiece.
Well, I remember it was, I mean, the first person who told me was McGowan.
Yeah, McGowan would have known.
Well, I mean, the one mystery around that account that I still have, or the open question is, did people on the inside close to Lou Elizondo, did they 100% know that it was Lou? Because it sounded like they did. And it sounded like there was like these weird group chats where like Faceless was kind of giving them directions and telling them who to attack. But I haven't actually seen any like actual documented evidence of those DMs and no one has like come out saying that like, oh, I knew it was Lou and I knew I was taking orders from Lou. Like, I feel like that's
we've had
thing. And
we've had a couple of things come out that don't link those DMs specifically, but I had about 7 or 8 months after we ended UCR, I had the producer of Disclosure Tonight reach out to me. Gary. And he wrote me a very long email, first of all, apologizing for all the attacks that came from the channel. But he also wrote to me that behind the scenes, him, Thomas Fessler, and Rob Heatherly were looking up people's information, hinting at you specifically, rather, hinting at other channels and other people and other voices in the community that they didn't like. And not only did he say that was happening, he said he recorded a lot of these conversations and that he has a ton of recordings of it. And
then he pussed out.
And then he backed out.
Fucking weenie.
But we also had another producer or information gatherer for the show that goes by the name of LM. He came out a couple of weeks ago and confirmed everything that Gary said in that email. Like basically directing guys to, let's take this show out, whatever we could do, whatever information you can find on them. Like Manny 503, he has a criminal record, like they try to find things, especially mistakes you made maybe when you were young or whatever, and they'll use those things to discredit you in whatever medium you're in. And to their credit, that worked a little bit with us when Manny put out his documentary. As a filmmaker perspective, I was like, dude, it's unwatchable. And that's why I was like, it's not really the information, although we didn't agree with the information at the time. But in retrospect, now we've spoken to Manny, we looked at his information. He was right. It's important to look up where this guy's been, what he's done, what's in his past, people he's had contracts with. A timeline needs to be built of this person because they have big claims. And a lot of these people have been validated. A lot of these people have because of that book. That book is just a mess. It's a mess. And it shows that he's an improviser, dude. That guy just like
pathological liar.
Pathological liar is a phrase I've heard many times.
I mean, he
from
lies about
other
the smallest
people,
things.
The smallest things
that don't even matter. And that's very pathological.
It's wild.
I'm no psych, but I mean, yeah.
That's an opinion.
It is an opinion.
Okay. But yeah, dude, I mean, like Panda says here, great to see the old gang here. I wish UFO Jane was here too. Interesting to hear new information from Rather on how Elizondo manipulated the scenes, behind the scenes. And I think he's referring to that little sort of that green room discussion that we had, where he's, calling it a crime against humanity, either in the text or in the things that he's saying to us, and yeah, dude, I mean, looking back on it, it's weaponized a lot of extreme thinking in the community.
Yeah, and and Lou has to take responsibility for that. Like the fact that that's not something he even approaches is disturbing, right? Because like if he's continuing to double down on what he's doing and what he's saying, which again, I've been out of the scene for quite a while, so I don't have any evidence here for, but I trust you guys have been on top of it. Sounds like the fact that he's continuing to double down on this and just continues to do, to me that's wrong. That is not serving anyone but himself.
No, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, it's so funny how he pretends like he doesn't know what's going on UFO Twitter, right? And pretends that he's not in social media. Like, I mean, just for an example, like I don't know, like towards the beginning of the year, he tweeted, "Oh, let's bury the hatch at B Squidding," right? And like, all right, I didn't even respond to it. But several months later, I was kind of looking for that tweet, and I saw that he had deleted it. So it's like, it's not only is he like in his mind, petty, like thinking about me, but then he's like, months down the line, like, oh, he didn't respond to me. I better delete this. Like,
he's
it's
like,
just like he's
fuck his mother
online.
Wow, dude, that's so funny. I didn't know that he deleted that tweet.
Well, I couldn't find. Maybe his Twitter search is broken, but it looked like he deleted it.
I mean, yeah,
that'd probably be embarrassing for him, right? To be like, "Who is this B Squidding?"
Yeah.
And to bury the hatchet with.
He went for the high five, and you just stiffed him.
Yeah, yeah. I think we talked for a little bit when that happened, rather on a Zoom call. And we had a good chuckle. It's just like, yeah, why would I respond to that, dude? Like, you've made my life a living hell. Like,
apologize to my mom. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, that would be nice.
Nobody believes me when I say Rather's mom was watching. That's a fact, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. I did not know your mom was watching. That's wild.
I almost kind of want to call up your mom right now and see what she thinks about Lou Elizondo.
Let's do it on air.
That could be funny.
Sonic says in the chat, dude, was he drunk? Sounds like he was drunk or something. It's just silly, crime against humanity. Maybe he's too embarrassed. What's your take on that?
Maybe he was drunk. He drinks fucking apple juice. Fuck that guy.
Yeah, he drinks apple juice, according to him. I mean, here's something that I think is really, I love when people say this, and this is, of course, UAP Mike. He says, Lou wishes he was relevant, which is hilarious, because if I wanted to be relevant, I would have shut the fuck up. And I would have leaned into it.
Like you didn't do yourself any favor. You didn't do yourself any favors by abandoning a belief system for that people were
so stupid. It's the dumbest comment you can make, Michael. Michael Huntington, though, who's the better of the Michaels, who's way better.
Yeah, way better than this Mike.
Way better than that Mike.
Wait, there's at least 3 Mikes, right?
Dude, there's another Mike that works for Disclosure Tonight. They call him Mike UAP. And I always get these dickheads mixed up. But it's great because UAP Mike has been thrown off of Twitter. He's been thrown off of Twitter because...
Is that right?
He's been thrown off so many times. That dickhead will come back.
Yeah, he's on account number 4 or 5 by now. Because he's harassed people. That's why he's fucking been kicked off of Twitter. Also, like his old account, he closed it because he knows that if he opens it, King Milkfart and all those other guys are going to take pictures of the DMs that they have. And incriminate him. Like it's a shit show. But anyway, the good Michael, the Michael Huntington, says, tilt one back, amigo. Thumbs up with a beer. And a $20 super chat. So appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Cool yeah, Huntington.
Nose beers for all.
Mm-hmm. Nose beers for all. Nose beer.
I know what nose beers are.
No, I know what a nose beer is.
I think I know what we're talking about now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather's still working on it.
Figure says yes.
I get you.
Rather's like, yep, I agree. I agree. Okay, so what else? What else do we want to throw in here? You know what? We got about 12 minutes, I guess, for the end of this show. It's what question? If you guys have questions, put them in all caps in the chat, and we'll take a look at them.
What's Rather been up to? I want to know.
Yeah, what have you been up to, Rather?
Oh man, just enjoying life, going on hikes, skiing,
Squidding.
enjoying the great outdoors. Yeah, I have been kind of squidding, in a little bit of a rut creatively after this because I had created a YouTube channel during the pandemic and kind of was focused on fringe science ideas that could maybe explain the unexplained mystery that the government has kept hidden from us. And now that I no longer see a mystery there, that kind of subsided, but I'm kind of trying to get back into the creating a content scene. Michael, you've been doing a lot of cool stuff with AI. I've kind of seen the same thing and feeling that the whole AI can now potentially empower me to tell stories that have a scientific kernel of truth. And so, yeah, I'm trying to kind of, kick that back up and create some more content for my channel. So hope to be doing that in the future.
Love to see it.
Hell yeah! What's your channel? What's your channel called again? Is it Rather Be Squidding?
Yeah, Rather Be Squidding.
Check it out.
I haven't posted for quite a while, but I'm getting back in there.
He's also on onlyfeet.com. If you haven't
Only tentacles, actually.
Only tentacles. That's
Only
right.
tentacles.
That's right.
Oh my god.
He's also on Finger Twitter. .ai.
Yeah.
Fingertwitter.ai.
I love it. Matt, what are you doing?
Just still doing my weed shit. My weed channel on the history of strains and making people hate me over there as much as they do in UFO Twitter.
Wait, why do they hate you there? What's the?
Because I do the same shit I do here. I bust myths and piss off people with big corporations.
Oh, so tell me a little. Do you know anything about? Because we've got Prop 4 on the ballot here in Florida, or is it Prop 3? Prop 3 or 4 for recreational marijuana use. And it was one of the things that I found interesting because the dude who funded the hedge fund, who was against who the GameStop dude was going after. Apparently, he just moved to Florida, donated $12 million to get the recreational weed shut down. So I was just curious if you got any history there on this dude.
Well, realistically, any kind of measure that has lobbyists behind it means it's not being done or funded by traditional farmers that built this market. And all it does is push corporations in, push traditional marketers out. You end up with Walmart weed. And most of the smokers don't care because they don't grow and they don't understand that they are getting subpar bullshit. And it's ruined the United States for cannabis, for breeding. Doing more work that way. So I'm anti all legalization measures until it's completely flat out legal. No rules on how many plants you can grow, all that.
Got it. I'd love to pick your brain more on that in the Discord after this, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really
real quick, somebody has a question from Michael in the chat, Freakish Preacher, who asks, what was Rather or Mike gonna say to Lou Elizondo when your mic wouldn't work well? You asked Lou Elizondo about sock puppet accounts and Lou Elizondo got pissed. Mike was gonna respond with some fire, but we lost that moment.
Dude, I forgot about that. My mic went down. Everything went down. My whole fucking system went down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and thank God it did, because if it didn't, we would have moved on to the next question and we would have never got that hooker moment.
That's right.
It was a blessing in disguise a little bit.
Status. What a Rather status. Just who else has that? Who else can claim that? Who else's mom was watching that?
I mean, I don't think my mom was, but I mean, it's possible. It's possible. Panda asks, what does Mike think of all the developments in AI lately? Oh, we'll be talking about that. Yeah, hit the Discord. Hit the Discord link in the description below.
For real. Hit the Discord link. That's all we're doing. That we're going bonkers.
I
bananas.
mean, yeah. Also check out our episode from Wednesday, because we spent over 2 hours kind of playing with Brevetto and seeing different genuinely great ideas. One specifically, that really
she's teaching me how to have multiple orgasms.
She is.
Like,
We're working on her.
If you're working on ideas, if you got things that you're thinking about and you just don't know how to execute them, you're going to want to be in the Discord, because those are things that we'll be talking about and addressing, and whatever other questions you might have outside of that. If you do have questions, I'm sure you will. But yeah, so check out that episode and check out the Discord. Like I said, links in the description.
Yeah, we're gonna go live. You guys still up for that? Go live for a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, hell yeah. So hit the link.
I might have to take a little bit of a walk. So if I show up on the mic without a breath, that's I've been working out every night. So
maybe we all take 10, and then I'll kick open the it's in the so click the link below. Join us in the Brevetto Discord. Got a lot of shit that I want to pick your guys' brains about that we were just talking about, and then there's an event in there, and just click on the event. We'll be in there.
And if you don't, Lou Elizondo will call your mom a whore.
He will. I wonder, like, that's a badge of honor. Like, I gotta say, man, that's impressive. Like,
his balls that day grew like massive.
I mean, honestly, and I say this half kidding, half not. I think it was one of the most important questions we could ask this guy.
Absolutely.
Because I've never seen him that vulnerable. I've never seen him that angry. I've never seen him that frustrated. And we got, like I said, the very first fucking thing out of his mouth for that question. And it's the first thing I noticed. And honestly, it was the thing that stuck with me over even the hooker line was he put his hands up and he's like, I'm an intelligence guy.
Yep.
I collect intelligence. He gave us a soft yes. He's like, yeah, those are my sock puppet accounts, dickheads.
And then a hard fuck off, like a soft yes and a hard fuck you.
And then here's because that question gets so much attention and so much love. But I think the thing that people really missed out on was what happened after when we played the game. What was it? Let's stick with it. Let's
Real or
move
not?
on.
Oh, that's right.
Let's stick with it. Let's move on, or bullshit, which was a fast-paced fucking just one-word answer, Lou. Stick with it. Let's move on, or bullshit. Roswell, what do we do? Stick with it? Do we move on, or is it bullshit? Let's move on. Like we got, and now we get a book. Juxtapose, stick with. I got to put that clip out again. I'm going to put the clip out again on Twitter and probably just post it on the channel. But stick with it. Let's move on, or bullshit. Like the things he said juxtaposed to his book.
Yeah, night and day.
Totally different.
Yeah. Like
cattle
Roswell,
mutilation.
Right? You asked about Roswell.
Yeah, that's about Roswell, cattle mutilation, all kinds of shit.
Yep.
Yep.
And here's the thing too, right? Like, remember, rather, you were saying he was kind of hinting that it was Stephen Greer that was sort of giving him this this thorn in his side kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And I set up the fucking softball question of Stephen Greer, like fake, what was psyops, or not psyops, false flag UFO invasions. And he's like, well, I can't say no. It's happened before in the past.
I still don't understand that answer. Even to this day, that's a weird answer.
Such a weird answer, dude. Because, well, maybe it's not so weird when we also think about they share fucking attorneys.
Yep. Both sides suck the same attorney.
They share, Danny Sheehan, who, by the way,
that's right.
And it turns out they actually believe almost the exact same things too.
Yeah, CE5, and then what was Lou Elizondo's term for CE5?
Well, Lou Elizondo saw orbs. Lou Elizondo saw orbs for
does
years.
Mike know about the orbs in his house that appeared for years?
Oh my god, dude!
Elizondo, but man, I listened to the Kurt Jaimungo thing, and he talks about the whole muddy boots analogy about how if you have muddy boots, you have evidence that someone's in your house. You need to figure out why they're there and how they're there. They could be doing horrible stuff to you. But there's these green orbs that have been showing up in my house for the last 5 years, and I think they're aliens.
This is Elizondo?
I think they're aliens.
Elizondo in his book, and here's the dumbest part about all of this. He was in OSAP. He was
I'm
in
researching these
OSAP.
things for my professional job, and they're here in my house.
So he talks about he says 3 to 4 times a month, him, his family, his kids, his neighbors would see orbs around or in the house. And when you do the math, and this is over a 6 or 7 year period, when you do the math, it's like 230 something times. And he didn't set up cameras. He didn't turn around and go, oh, hey, Hal Putoff and Kit Green and all of you other assholes sucking money out of the government teat. There's orbs in my house. Maybe instead of doing this skit, let's ask Bigelow to put a couple cameras in my house. Like they're flying through every time I'm eating Cheerios or I'm fucking watching Turner and Hooch. Like, can you please? You think he would do that? Nah.
Yeah, wouldn't you be
didn't even
concerned
cross
that
his
they're doing
mind.
surveillance on him? They could be doing something, they could be irradiating him. Like, no concern.
No. And then the thing he said to Kurt after that, like, well, Kurt, if you saw lightning, you wouldn't just start recording it. If it was happening in my fucking house, I would. Like
I have so much to say about that. I don't even know where to start. We should start.
It's like, this is why, you know what? Maybe we should do a show once a month, boys. No.
I can do that.
Maybe.
I do enjoy it. Although I don't enjoy the topic, I do enjoy talking to all of you.
I know, right? Like, I think, having conversations like this, dude.
I don't know if you need me.
Yeah, no, we could use you. We need you. Yeah. When you go even more hardcore than I do, we need it. But yeah, dude, I mean, like, there's so many things, like, where I think about, especially, like, because Rather was here for a year after you left, Mike, so I always think of, and, no offense, but I always say, I'm always like, I wonder what Rather would think of this. Like, how would his sweet brain compute this? And I would always think, like, oh, I can't wait like, there would be times where I'm like, oh, I'd rather eviscerating to this guy, like, I can't wait. And then he'd be like, it's not too bad. The thing that just happened where everybody just got fucking lit on fire. I guess I could kind of see their point of view. I'm like, Rather, Jesus fucking Christ, bro. But we did have that one moment where I think it was the day after, right? Where we got to sit on it for about 24 hours or a weekend or something. And Rather was like, I remember talking to him on messages and he's like, I am fucking pissed. Like, I'm upset. It's like, the more I sat on it, and then the show he had after that was amazing. Like, your opening statement for that show, maybe I'll unlock that episode because that was a good one. Because it was oh, this is the first time I've seen Rather really upset. Because, like he said, his mom was watching.
And I was manipulated live on air. Like, it was clearly manipulative tactics and manipulated and lied to.
Well, what's funny,
that
dude,
doesn't feel great,
is when we talked to John Greenwald, and John Greenwald has publicly commented on this, and he's publicly backed us up. So if you want a receipt, there's fucking one. Like, that's the only one you should really need, is everything we've said, everything that happened to our show, John Greenwald, the FOIA king, has backed up. Okay? And again, we're still good on good terms with Stephen Greenstreet. So all of these people who think that there's this shit between us, there's not. But like, John Greenwald, dude, he was like when we were talking, he's like, Lou, yeah, it's a felon, but even if you take the felon part out of it, he's calling me mentally unstable. Like, it's like, this is terrible shit. And he's like, thank you for sharing it with me. And he's like, it took a lot of guts to share this with me. And the apology phone call, I wish I could tell you guys, like, the phone call that Greenwald got from Elizondo, freaking out about, like, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. Yes, it was. Like, John's not stupid.
It was just a misdemeanor against humanity.
Yeah, just a misdemeanor against humanity.
It was a stock Muppet.
That's it.
Show's
over.
It was a stock Muppet. It wasn't. It was meant to. We were trying to teach people how to read.
Show is
children.
Over. Show is over. That was fucking perfection. Absolute perfection. You guys.
Did you mute yourself, Lou?
Did I?
Yeah, there you are.
For a second. You're back now.
Okay. This you guys was an absolute fucking pleasure. It was so much fun. And obviously the crowd loves it. You know, I'm not going to ask, but you know what the question is.
I'm down.
Just do it. Just fucking do it. Let's do this once a month because this is fun. And also, like, dude, there's always, like I said, especially with new tech, and rather, I know you're still reading up on this shit. You're still interested.
I can't resist. It's more for the drama these days, but I can't.
I still want to see you go out on a date with the person I was trying to set you up on a date with. That needs to happen. Unless you got married.
Well, not Leah Prime, right?
No, God, no.
Please not her.
Let's talk crap here.
Yeah, let's not.
Nah, dude. Well, anyway, we'll talk. Well, man, there's some stuff I'd love to tell you guys behind the scenes here before we go into this next thing, because something you brought up rather made me think of something I thought you guys would get a kick out of. Anyway, you guys, I fucking love all of you. This was so much fun. Thanks for hanging out for the last 2 hours.
Love you guys too.
You guys, before we get out of here, I want to thank all of you, everyone who was in the chat, everyone who donated today. I see some old faces that haven't been here in a while. Tina Tomaszewski, Aaron Desario. Guys, don't be strangers. Come hang out all the time, please. The more support, the better. Blizzard, all of our mods today, thank you so much. And to all of our haters, thanks for watching. I love the haters are like, you're not relevant, but I'm watching every second of what you say.
And arguing with people in the chat.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Go fuck yourself, hater.
Amazing. Yeah, seriously. Fuck you, Mike. Fuck you, Mike. Fuck you, Mike. Mike Boyle. UAP Mike. Anyway, you guys, this was a blast. Before we get out of here, want to also tell you guys, like, share, subscribe. If you want to really support the show other than super chats or memberships to the YouTube channel, we have a Patreon in the description below, so check that out. I'm going to be adding a PayPal because I think that's faster. Or what do the kids use? Zelle? Maybe some Zelle or the other one? I don't know.
Zelle. They use some Cash App.
Venmo banned me.
You kids tell me. You kids tell me the way you want to infuse your bank account into mine. I'll put it there.
Yeah. Give him money.
Just give me all of your fucking money for unfiltered truth.
There you go.
You guys, once again, thank you for embarking on this journey of discovery together. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and thank you for helping us raise the bar here on Lou Reviews. Until next time, thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, B Squidding. We're going to be in the Brevetto Discord in about 10 minutes. Link to that is in the description below. Come in there if you got questions. And yeah, we'll see you guys on Friday. Love you all. Peace out.
We'll all be fully nude. Bye.
We'll all be fully nude.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for getting this going, brother. All right. Love you guys.
Peace. We're still live, by the way.
Are we still live?
We're still live. Yeah, I'm just, you know, so don't say anything
scenes.
Incriminating. Yeah, we are behind the scenes, but the everybody's mic is still live. See, I'm using two different softwares here, so that's why. But all right.